And I was just wondering, I was going to ask the question, Tim, because Mikitenko must be about 40 or 50 meters behind this group. Taffers with the red vest at right on the far side to the left, second from the left on your picture. Chariot on the near side, but look how far Mikitenko is behind. I wish we could bring some times with respect to the women in this, but of course being a mixed race that is pretty difficult to do. So in terms of timing, when we're looking at what the records are and what records may be broken here, it's very difficult for us to tell. We can certainly do in absolute terms with the men, but you can see Mikitenko in the red vest in the back, that second group. That's deceptive. They're quite a long way back. She's surrounded by her two pacemakers plus others, but she's well down on the Africans, and I'm surprised by that, although of course the race is in early days.
Well, we know Mikitenko there in the red, the shortest figure in that group, is in wonderful shape after that quick 10 kilometers recently. The question is whether or not she is judging it right here today. She has a habit of coming through strongly with a quick final quarter to the race. No doubt if some of those Africans out in front of her are going too quick, they will peel off and come back, and she will start passing them in the latter stages. But usually when you get a group going away at a very quick tempo, one of them will hang on and run the comprehensive race and stay out in front, so she can't let that gap get too big.
And also, Tim, she'll be relying on personal stopwatches here, because in a mixed race like this, the lead car will be way ahead with the men, and so there won't be the sort of advantage that these guys have got. Certainly, they're all taking a little. Look how deep in concentration it is. One often asked, what on earth do athletes think about? They get into a feeling of well-being. It's nice and rhythmic, and look at him. He's not even looking where he's going. He's just deep in concentration.
No, that's exactly right. I think the thing to do in any distance race through the early stages, or indeed up to halfway and perhaps slightly beyond, is just to switch off mentally. Don't feel too busy. You shouldn't have to do any real racing. If you're working hard in the first half, then you've overcooked it. You're going too quickly. So he should be feeling nice and relaxed now. Yes, he's working, but working at a nice, manageable rate. As we see number 10 there, that's James Kwambai, just beginning perhaps to struggle towards the back of the group. They're only, about a minute and a half or so away from the 10-kilometre point. That will be very telling, Stuart. Last year they went through 10 kilometres in 29:27. Now, if they maintain the tempo they've been going at so far, 3 to 5k, they will go through in about 29:10, and that would be, simply too quick.
Well, that would have doubled the advantage. It really would. I'm trying to work out what that figure is below, the 9:47. I wonder if that is... I'm just trying to look at the women's... I don't think it's giving us any information at all. 9:51.52. The overall time, 28:20, is the most significant one, and certainly the marks that we'll give you at 5, 10 and 15k. And the point that Tim was making about that 10 kilometres at 29:30 would give you the world record thereabouts, 2:4.29, and if they're 20 seconds, that means they've made 10 seconds on the first 5k and 10 seconds on the second, if they've maintained that sort of pace, which means they're getting quicker. So it really is quite interesting, this. And you're right about our friend at the back, Mr. James Kwambai. I mentioned that his personal best is 2 hours 10. Well, he's on a pace for somewhere 6 or 7 minutes faster than that, and that may well prove difficult. He's really having to work hard to stay on the tail of that group, certainly.
Well, very difficult, of course. Here they come to 10 kilometres, by the way, and it is too quick. Look at that. They've gone through there unofficially in about 29:12. So Gebrselassie, something like 15 seconds, slightly more perhaps, quicker than he was last year at 10 kilometres. That's just over 6 miles they've run in just outside 29 minutes. And I think these pacemakers now need to be making some decisions and slowing it down and getting them back onto schedule, because Gebrselassie is totally dependent upon them. He doesn't really need to be worrying about the tempo. That's their job.
Yes, indeed. Ngusi there, number 17. Number 6 is Francis Kiprop. Mentioned him before. And this little group working together. But you're right about the pacemakers. They really do have to start thinking. And if those pictures those pictures show that they were chatting to each other. They were chatting right the way through that little phase that we saw, and I think that was the readjustment that may come.
There's a glorious shot of the city of Berlin on this autumnal Sunday morning, with history perhaps in the making. Or is there a mistake being made here by Gebrselassie and his cohort?
Yeah, I think we've worked out what those figures were on there. It is actually the distance, it's not a time. So when we saw the 9:44, it was coming up to the 10k mark. So that will give us a good clue in future. So that's quite interesting. We were thinking in terms of time, and it is in fact distance.
Well, Haile Gebrselassie, just talking earlier, Stuart, about the physiology of some of these athletes. He is a typical East African in that, although it may sound rather cliched, he did as a youngster run 10 kilometres to school in the morning and 10 kilometres home. That's 6 miles. So just imagine that in Western society, anywhere in Western Europe or even North America, and a youngster getting up in the morning at the age of 7 or 8 and running 6 miles to school, doing a day's work at school, and then running 6 miles home. No wonder by the age of 15, 16, 18, these lads come to the World Junior Championships and just blow away the rest of the world. The Caucasian athletes who perhaps started running at 12 or 14, whose lifestyles are so different. These men are almost running machines by the time they're 15, 20.
It's a very good point you make, actually. I was just looking at Gebrselassie. He first came to the attention of the world when he won that 5,000 and 10,000 double at the 1992 World Junior Championship. So that just supports the point you've been making. His first world record set in 1994 over 5,000 metres at 12:56.96. So as a junior, he was absolutely immense. And of course, he's continued to develop. Certainly over the 10,000 metres, we know that he won 4 successive world